Alright, guys, so today we're going to be talking about Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, or also known as Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance. What is it that I enjoy about this game so much? Well, I think part of it is like the sneaking aspect, because that's amazing.
We initiated development of Metal Gear Ray as a countermeasure to these pirated weapons sources.
And the other part of it might be the shooting, because it's also a great shooter. And the fourth aspect of it might be the philosophical aspect, which is probably the most boring, but I'll throw it in there for the sakes of it.
My predecessor, George Sears. That was the name the public came to know him by. I knew him by his code name, Solidus Snake. He was the third Snake, preceded by Solid and Liquid, a survivor of the Les Enfants Terribles project.
And finally, I really love Raiden as a character. He is the greatest character in all of the Metal Gear Solid series. Okay, growing up playing Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, or Substance, it was like mind-shattering. It was like, oh my god, I was like fucking, I was like in 4th grade, and I was playing through this game, and it was like crazy. There was all these crazy concepts and ideas, and they're throwing up terms around like Lale Lule Lo and the Patriots. I don't know. I don't remember if they say the Lale Lule Lo. No, yeah, they do. The captain in the beginning or what he goes, the Lale Lule Lo. So I'm like, oh my god, this is so crazy, and the ship's blowing up, and there's fucking people drowning, and then it's like 2 years later. Do you remember Snake? Do you remember the sinking of that tanker 2 years ago? Of course.
Snake, do you remember the sinking of that tanker 2 years ago?
Of course.
And I was like, cool, this is dope. I was never good at shooting games, so I definitely enjoyed Metal Gear Solid 2 from that. Like, I don't know, it was like the story. I've always just enjoyed story. Let me make sure the shit's like recording. So I've always enjoyed like story games, but the thing about like some like really good story games is that the gameplay sucks. Like fucking RPGs, like I was watching a video the other day on SMT, and they're like, yeah, your fucking RPGs suck, and it's like, yeah, they kind of do. It does get boring, And this is gonna be a really hot take, but I remember the kids, my friends, maybe not my friends, but like my classmates and stuff in high school, they were all into Pokemon and shit, and that's all good. Like if you like Pokemon, that's fine. I don't hate Pokemon, but I remember they were watching me play Final Fantasy 4, and then they were like, that looks boring, and then I just something clicked in my head, and I was like, you're 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 fucking collecting little monster characters and having them fight. And then I remember I was like, I didn't want to be like an asshole, so I had asked my friend, and I go, hey, dude, what's the deal with Pokemon? He's like, oh, dude, Pokemon's the shit. So he let me borrow one of the games, and I played maybe like 8 hours, and it was cool, right? It was like you're collecting things, and then you go to a gym, and then you fight the top dog there, and then you fucking push him off the pedestal, and then next thing you're the top dog. But the story, like, there wasn't really much of a story there, so it definitely wasn't a game that I kept around too long. But anyways, going back to Metal Gear Solid 2, yeah, the story's dope. I love talking about the story. I think, every time Sneak Club calls me or Day Nobodies calls me, like, we will, if I get an opportunity, I will talk to them about the philosophy of Metal Gear Solid 2.
That's right. George Washington took office as the first president of the United States of America 200 years ago today. And it happened right here. We were going to declare another independence, the dawn of a new nation, here. The end of the Patriots' secret rule, liberation of this country. This was where it was supposed to begin. This is where freedom could have been born.
All you want is power at any cost.
Jack, it's not power I want. What I wanted to take back from the Patriots are things like freedom, civil rights, opportunities. The founding principles of this country. Everything that's about to be wiped out by their digital censorship. Jack, listen to me. We're all born with an expiration date. No one lasts forever. Life is nothing but a grace period for turning the best of our genetic material into the next generation.
One of the things that I don't like about Metal Gear Solid 2 is, there's really nothing I don't like about it. I mean, would it be cool to see a remake, like, of like, the way they're doing Delta? Yeah, but then I also remember seeing, like, Kojima or Konami or someone saying, like, oh, no, that game doesn't need a remake. It's perfect as it is. And I think it is. I think some of the things that it could, like, now that I'm a little bit older and stuff, that they could really expand on is the shooting aspect of it, because it really isn't a shooter. And that's the annoying thing, because there's a lot of moments that it expects you to play as a shooter. I remember playing on the PlayStation 2, and there's, like, the when you move it, like, the gun, like, drags. It's like slogging its way, and it's like, and you're going like that, and then, like, you move it, and then he starts moving. Like, if you're playing COD, like, the dude's fucking all over the place, and I think that was one of the things that I didn't like too much about Metal Gear Solid 2 now, like around this time. Um, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the shooting aspect of it, because I've always been bad at shooters, but now that I'm, like, aware of, like, how a shooter's supposed to be held or handled, it's frustrating. I think that's really one of the only gripes that I have with it, because you do have to have some sort of, like, perfect control over the shooting aspect. The battle with Olga, the battle with the Gurlukovich soldiers, Fat Man, Vamp, not really. I guess no. Like, there's no real. You don't really have to, like, shoot them all crazy or whatever. But I mean, it's really frustrating that you have to do that, especially that Gurlukovich showdown with the guards in the tanker. Like, that was a really frustrating fight for me to get across, because I was pressing, like, six buttons, like. So it's like, you gotta go to first person, you gotta stick the aim up like this, you gotta aim like that, and then to peek over the box, you gotta do this. So let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fucking buttons. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. No, thank you. I don't want to do that. I think that's the only gripe that I have with it. And of course, I have a lot of good things to say about it. Mostly the story, the philosophy of it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as a kid. I remember the first time, maybe not the first time playing it, because the first time I played it, I couldn't get too far. I would get stuck a lot. I was in, like, fourth grade, and I didn't know what I was doing. But the first time that I got to Arsenal Gear, after the Twilight sniping with Emma, where she's on the bridge, and it's the worst thing ever. But after getting to Arsenal Gear and kind of seeing like a huge shift in the atmosphere of the game,
What did you say?
I remember I remember thinking to myself
With you.
that I was afraid, I was scared, and I didn't know why.
You'll ruin your eyes playing so close to the TV.
And I always kind of um put this like association with that game and a one of my favorite movies now, 28 Days Later, because I remember after watching 28 Days Later, we went it was I was with my cousin and we went to the backyard to do yard work, and I remember just like being like I was like looking around like this is so unreal. Like what if like these zombies started attacking us and life as we know it like just stopped. And I think that was one of the more frightening things about Metal Gear Solid 2 for me that really stuck with me even to this day was there's this whole question, like questioning your existence and questioning like what it is that you're doing and who you are and what you're supposed to be doing and
If the
who's
colonel
telling you
was
to do
something
it
that I
and telling you to
partly
do
dreamt
what.
up, then everything I remember about her could be.
Don't jump to conclusions.
You and Otacon are the ones that say the colonel never existed.
Raiden.
Is this what Olga was talking about?
So it's a game that definitely speaks. I don't know. I've always thought about this. Like I've always wondered like was Metal Gear Solid 2 the turning point for me because growing up that was my introduction, right? And then as the years went on, like I started reading like Dostoevsky and Tolstoy and Nietzsche and all of these like really big like thinkers of their time. And I always wonder if that's like credited to Metal Gear Solid 2. I don't know.
Raiden, are you receiving? We're still here.
How's that possible? The AI was destroyed.
Only GW.
Who are you?
To begin with, we're not what you'd call human. Over the past 200 years, a kind of consciousness formed layer by layer in the crucible of the White House. It's not unlike the way life started in the oceans 4 billion years ago. The White House was our primordial soup, a base of evolution. We are formless. We are the very discipline and morality that Americans invoke so often. How can anyone hope to eliminate us? As long as this nation exists, so will we.
Cut the crap! If you're immortal, why would you take away individual freedoms and censor the net?
Jack, don't be silly.
Don't you know that our plans have your interests, not ours, in mind?
What?
Jack, listen carefully, like a good boy.
The mapping of the human genome was completed early this century. As a result, the evolutionary log of the human race lay open to us.
We started with genetic engineering, and in the end, we succeeded in digitizing life itself.
But there are things not covered by genetic information.
What do you mean?
Human memories, ideas, culture, history.
Genes don't contain any record of human history.
Is it something that should not be passed on? Should that information be left at the mercy of nature?
Reading the Gulag Archipelago and kind of seeing like the shit that they're going through. Obviously, like what's really the point that I'm getting at? The point that I'm getting at is like this whole fake, fabricated society or infrastructure within a society. And I think a lot of people right now, like they want to, like they're aware. They're aware. People, like I think people have their own ideas of who it is that's pulling the strings, like who it is that's calling the shots. And from my like understanding, it's like yes, there's a robot computer AI system out there calling the shots. Like I genuinely believe that that's what it is.
Right. You seem to think that our plan is one of censorship.
Are you telling me it's not?
You're being silly. What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
create context.
The digital society furthers human flaws and selectively rewards development of convenient half-truths. Just look at the strange juxtapositions of morality around you.
So then, I played the crap out of this game. Fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, what's eighth grade, ninth grade, and then that's kind of when it started to slow down, like my freshman year. Well, I mean, I finally ended up getting a PS3, and then I was playing Metal Gear Solid 4, and I was playing MGO, and it was sick. It was like Grozny Grad and doing all of that. But then I started doing a lot of the VR missions on Metal Gear Solid 2, and I think those are pretty good. I do enjoy the VR missions. I mean, now I'm not gonna sit. I don't enjoy them as much. I When I was a kid, I enjoyed the shit out of it, and now I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do the fucking VR mission. These missions they're not stupid, but I'm not gonna do them. Um, so I kind of did stop playing Metal Gear Solid 2 after a certain point, and then it slowly, like, I would play the game like once every year or other year. And I still had a lot of questions. I still had a lot of, like, I wanted answers about a lot of things that the game had talked about that really, like, I just either it just wasn't out there, or maybe a Metal Gear Solid 2.2 or something, because Metal Gear Solid 4 didn't answer a lot of the questions. It kind of did, and it kind of created some new questions, but I wanted to know, like, where, like, who how was this created, like, who sits there and thinks of this shit, and then goes, yeah, okay, so we have this character, he's like a nobody, and we're gonna have a computer program, like, give him orders and then simulate it, but then all of this is happening, and the bad guys are actually the good guys because they're trying to free the country from the control of the Patriots, and it was just like, who's like, how did that come to be? And so I did stop playing the game for a while because they're just, I no matter how many times I played the game, I just was never going to get those answers. And then one day, I remember I was scrolling through YouTube, and I remember seeing a speed run of Metal Gear Solid 2 by James Howell. I think his name is James Howell. I'll look it up. I'll put it in the description or something. And I thought it was just a speed run. I was like, well, I've never seen a speed run before. I've never seen anybody do a big boss run of Metal Gear Solid 2. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know, like, speed running or, like, big boss runs. I didn't know it was a thing. So I was watching it, and I remember kind of, like, taking a nap and dozing off. And the videos, I want to say, like, about an hour, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. And I remember at some point waking up, and this guy James, I hope I'm not getting his name wrong, he's talking about, like, he's talking about the in game, like, philosophy, and he's going, this is why write in X, Y, and Z. And then I was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? So then I started, like, I was waking up and I was watching it, and I went back and I go, what is this? And it's like a video essay. And that answered a lot of my questions, a lot of the theories that I had as a kid. Because growing up, I mean, this is like, when I first played Metal Gear Solid 2 was like pre YouTube era. Like, people weren't doing this. The things that I remember watching on YouTube were, something happened on the way to Kingdom Hearts or something like that. And stupid videos, just like the dumbest shit on YouTube. There was not a lot of videos online, but there was some, to this point now, going, oh my god, this guy has all the answers, where did he pull it? And then so he starts pulling source after source, and he's like, I wrote an essay as my thesis and this and that, and he's talking about all these philosophical ideas and these philosophers, and like Dostoevsky and Nietzsche. And then I'm like, what the fuck? Like, where does this stop? This is based in real world ideas, and somehow they're projected into this video game about saving Manhattan, or so I thought. So then that kind of led me into a deeper hole, and then I started watching like Futurasound, and I remember seeing the most profound moment in gaming history. I want to say this was like 2019 when I saw these videos, and so I really got back into Metal Gear Solid 2, and I started playing it again, and I was going like, oh my god, yeah, that's making sense, that's making sense. But see, here's the funny thing. Because Snake says something towards the end of the game, and he goes like, "Whose idea is it? Is it yours?" Or I think the Colonel says it. He goes, "Well, whose idea is it? Is it yours or is it Snake's?"
That's what it means to create context.
I'll decide for myself what to believe and what to pass on.
But is that even your own idea?
Or something Snake told you.
That's the proof of your incompetence right there. You lack the qualifications to exercise free will.
That's not true. I have the right.
So before I didn't have these answers, and then all of a sudden I did for some reason. But were they mine, or were they Futurasound's, or James Howell, or the guy that did the most profound moment in gaming history? Or were they Dostoevsky's, or were they Nietzsche's, or were they some more other philosopher that maybe I'm not particularly remembering and giving them credit for? Was it their ideas? So it was kind of tricky, because it was like, hey, this game has been known for playing these type of games on people.
Right. Do you copy?
You must continue your mission.
I've lost all my gear. I need to locate Snake.
He was never factored into the simulation. Leave him out of this.
I can't do much naked, especially in this temperature.
That's true. You won't be able to attack or enter the hanging mode either.
I think Snake has my gear.
Right. Take out Solidus and his men. You must recover Arsenal intact.
Colonel, are you under orders from the Patriots?
Your role, that is, mission, is to infiltrate the structure and disarm the terrorists.
My role? Why do you keep saying that?
Why not? This is a type of role-playing game. The point is that you play out your part, and I expect you to turn in a perfect performance.
Colonel, I just remembered something.
What?
That I've never met you in person. Not once.
Nothing seems real.
Complete your mission according to the simulation.
Colonel, who are you?
No more questions. We have Rosemary.
What do you mean by that?
Over and out.
Right. Turn the game console off right now.
What did you say?
The mission is a failure. Cut the power right now.
What's wrong with you?
Don't worry. It's a game. It's a game like me, just like
You'll
you.
ruin your eyes playing.
Right. Turn the game console off right now.
What did you say?
The mission is a failure. Cut the power right now.
What's wrong with you?
Don't worry. It's a game. It's a game just like you.
You'll ruin your eyes playing so close to the TV.
What are you talking about?
That's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Isn't there, isn't there, isn't there? Oh well, oh well, oh well. Isn't there, isn't there, isn't there? That's okay, it's okay.
What is it, Rose?
Isn't there, isn't there, isn't there? Oh well, I'll keep trying. I've made up my mind to stay with you. Stay with you. Stay with you. I've made up my mind to stay with you.
Whether this is real or a bad dream, I'll keep watching you till it's ready.
right? Something like that. So yeah, like I just was like, wow, this game, after maybe not playing it for 5 or so years, or like not playing as consistently, just had a spark. It just sparked itself back into my life, and it's a game that I definitely still enjoy playing. I've wanted to platinum this game, but I fucking suck at Metal Gear Solid 2. I've tried to do the big boss speed run, and since last year of maybe December, I've been stuck at the Fat Man boss fight. I can't learn it. The aiming on, I'm not gonna learn how to aim. It's not it's not a game that I'm ever gonna platinum. But I did platinum Metal Gear Solid 3. Anyways, I hope that wasn't too bad of a video. I feel like it's the fucking most boring video ever. I don't want to do this. Whatever. This is SideQuest 64, and I'll see you guys on the next one.